Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It has been 2 weeks since I've given birth to baby Nova, and I've finally gotten a chance to sit down and record my birth story, so I'm really excited to do that today. I'm so excited to share with you guys our story. I'm actually nursing Nova right now, so if you hear a little bit of guzzling, that's what's going on. So anyways, let's begin at the very beginning. So there were a lot of similarities with Nova's birth and the birth of my first daughter, Iris. It all began on 40 weeks and 5 days, exactly at midnight. Which was very similar with Iris. She was 40 and 4 at midnight. I felt my first contraction at midnight, and it wasn't like this intense contraction that like I knew this was a real deal, but it sort of felt more like the prodromal labor that I had been having. And I decided to do my contraction timer with it anyways, just to see if this was gonna go anywhere. And about 45 minutes into it, I was like, this really could be it. Like every 4 minutes contractions were coming, and they were lasting 30, 40 seconds. And so I thought maybe I should probably get some sleep and rest up before the birth if this was going to be the real deal. With Iris, I was able to sleep for like 5 hours, but with Nova, I slept for an hour and I woke up to intense contractions and I could no longer sleep. So it was about 1 in the morning, and I tried sleeping for about an hour longer and I just could not fall asleep. I was just like getting through each contraction. Like it was actually working at this point, and it was kind of shocking to me because I just thought this is way too soon. It's only been an hour and a half of labor and I'm already kind of like, this is intense. So I woke up my husband close to 2 and I was like, babe, I am in labor and I feel like we need to call the doula already. But I've only been in labor for 2 hours. So it was really confusing to me because it just seemed way too soon to kind of start this process. So I called a doula around 2:30ish, and I was just like, I'm in labor, but it seems way too early for you to come. So I'm just letting you know. I mean, it's like 2 in the morning. So, it sucks to come out at this time of night. And she's like, I'm all ready for you, just let me know. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to sleep, because I knew I needed rest. I had not slept. I only had an hour of sleep. And so I really needed rest. So I hung up with her and I tried sleeping, and again, it didn't work. My mind was racing. I just felt like I needed to figure out when I was gonna call people. It was such a weird time of the night, so I didn't really want to call my photographer yet. I didn't want to call my friend who wanted to be there. I just felt like this is like the worst time to call people and wake them up. So I was really concentrated and like worried about this. I was like really anxious to when I should call everybody, and because of that, I wasn't really focusing how to get through each contraction. It was a very bad distraction for me. So I've been having contractions since midnight. They started at midnight. They weren't that strong, but they were timeable. Okay. And now it's 3:45 and they're about every 4 to 5 minutes apart, lasting like 40 seconds. So they're not that like far along yet. We're still gonna hang out around the house, lay down, try and rest. I've had like an hour of sleep, so that sucks. But I'm not ready to go yet. I mean, I feel awake right now, but I'm worried I'm gonna be tired later. I need rest before I push out a baby. So, all right. But my husband was up with me the whole time. He was helping me get through each contraction, and I think he knew like the whole time that like, we need to start getting everything going. We need to get people here. We need to call the midwife. We need to like get everything packed up to leave, all this kind of stuff. But he was just letting me do my thing. And I just didn't feel like it was time to do these things yet.
What do you got there?
Toxins.
Yep. Isn't that interesting?
Carbon up.
Carbon up. Nice little 4 in the morning snack. Little baby Nova. We're gonna see you today. You're gonna meet your big sister, Iris.
So it was probably around 4:15 where I was like, okay, I do need to call people. Like, I need to get my birth team together. I need to call my friends. I need to call my doula. My doula needs to be here. Like, she should be here now. And I need to call the midwife to tell her I'm in labor. By the time I started calling people, I first called my friend who was gonna videotape this whole labor, and she didn't answer. So I called my other friend. She did answer, and I was like, I'm in labor. Come when you wanna come. And I can't get a hold of Caitlin. Could you call Caitlin? Hang on one sec. And so my friend was like, yep, I will call Caitlin. I will make sure that, you know, I'll take care of that for you. I'll, you know, figure all that stuff out for you. And I was like, cool, okay, like, bye, kind of thing. And, excuse you. So my other friend said that she would take care of calling the photographer friend, and I didn't have to worry about that. So I just called my doula up and I was like, I need you here. And she's like, okay, I can get there at 5:45. And at the time it was probably about 4:15-ish, 4:30 maybe. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like, I can wait till then. So then I called my midwife, and I ended up going through a contraction with her on the phone, and it was just like a hard contraction. And she's like, this is your second baby. Maybe you should think about coming in. And I'm like, I've only been in labor for like 4 hours. Like, it's crazy for me to think to come in already, you know? And she was just like, you sound like you're working, like you should come in. And I'm thinking, I have a 40-minute drive to the birth center. I probably should go in. And so I was like, okay, like, I think you're right. And I was like, I will probably leave here within the hour. And we hung up, and like right after that, I realized I need to go. Like, my contractions were strong contractions. My husband was like, we should have been gone already. And so he wakes up my parents, let them know I'm in labor, and he starts getting the car packed, and we realize my doula is not gonna be here till 5:45, and she was supposed to be the person who was riding in the car with me while my husband drove, and we couldn't wait until 5:45. My dad ended up driving, my husband and I, so my husband was in the back seat with me, and my dad drove, and we left the house about 5 o'clock in the morning, and we called the doula and was like, meet us at the birth center. You know, she was just like, okay. Honestly, like, if you guys have listened to any of my other videos, I hate the drive to the birth center. It's the worst part of labor, is laboring in a car, because you stop, you go, every time you stop, it like makes you get into a contraction. And especially when I go to leave to go to the birth center, I like wait until I really need to like deliver my baby. I'm in like hard labor at this point, and every time you stop, like, I mean, it puts me into a real contraction, and it is awful. I know a lot of people leave way earlier than I would, and it's probably not like as bad of a drive as it was for me, but it just really sucks. I hate that part. I mean, I had countless contractions in the car. I was very, very thankful that my husband was in the back with me. And at this point, I also felt nauseous. We had like a bucket in case I needed to puke. I mean, I was not like in early labor. I was totally in active labor at this point. And it was a good thing that we decided to go in. So we get to the birth center, and just walking from the car to the building, I had like 3 contractions. I'm like in the like lobby area having a contraction. They open up the door and they're like waiting for me, you know, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I am like not in control of all of these things. I'm like really vocalizing through all the contractions, and I just had no rhythm and had no control. And I think it was because everything just happened so quickly, and my brain just couldn't wrap myself around like how quick it was happening and how strong these contractions were. And I just could not gain control. And so I finally get into the room and they're like, we're gonna check you. And I'm just like, oh, I'm dreading everything. I'm dreading being checked. I'm dreading like each contraction I have. I'm just dreading them. And instead of like really welcoming, which is what I really feel like you need to like welcome each contraction and be like thankful during these contractions because they're getting you closer to your baby. And did not have that mindset. I had the total opposite mindset, very negative. I just couldn't gain control. So they checked me and I was 8 centimeters dilated and I almost cried. I was just like, thank God I'm 8 centimeters dilated. And I knew I was going to hopefully have my baby soon. But with my first daughter, I was also 8 centimeters when I got checked into the birth center and I didn't give birth for another 4 hours. So, I mean, dilation really doesn't tell you how long it's gonna be until you give birth, but it does show you, you know, where you're at that moment. I was just like, I don't know if I can do another 4 hours of this. So we get there about 5:45 and about like between 5:45 and 6 o'clock, I was just like having contractions one on top of the other, trying to figure out where I wanted to be, how I was gonna be comfortable. I tried laying in the bed. I tried leaning up against the bed. The nurse was really helpful. She would do counter pressure on me. The midwife did counter pressure on me. And my poor husband is videotaping everything because the girl who was gonna videotape wasn't there. So thankfully my husband was totally fine videotaping and I didn't really have to worry about that because I really wanted the footage. I really did. It wasn't really about YouTube as much as I wanted to watch my birth. But regardless, we got it, and I'm very thankful for that. Yeah.
You're right on course with that. And you're doing great with the contractions. The noises, the way you're moving, it's all beautiful.
It sucks.
It does suck.
Oh. 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 Oh.
Big breath in and out. Let that one go. There you go. Perfect.
Oh. Oh.
Tub's ready if you want to try it.
I'm kind of hot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whatever works for you.
Okay.
You can always wait and get in last minute if you want.
Yeah.
Or stay out. You want your rest on pillows? Did you get her temp?
Mm-hmm.
Doing such a good job, babe.
Mm-hmm. So finally I'm like, all right, fine, let's fill up the bathtub. It really helped with Iris. So I'm gonna get into the tub. And so they fill that up for me and I get in and I'm like, yes, this is so helpful. And I'm just kind of like laying there in between a contraction and my doula shows up and I'm just like, oh, like relief, like to see her face. And I was very thankful that she was there. And she told me later, she was like, you looked so peaceful. She's like, I did not think you were in transition at all, but I was like totally transitioning. I was not peaceful at all. I was just like crazy. And when I saw her, I felt like such relief. And so she just started taking over and just helping me through each contraction and just guiding me. And I just did not feel like I had control. Even at this point, every contraction I had, I was like stiffening my body. I was like kicking through them. Like this was not like accepting each wave of contraction that I was preparing for, you know, and I was just so negative, unfortunately. Oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Oh, oh, ah, oh. So I started feeling like I needed to push shortly after, and so I pushed a few times, and my midwife was kind of, you know, talking me through it. She's like, how do you feel? Do you feel the baby coming? And I'm like, I don't feel anything. Like, I don't feel like these pushes are doing anything. I just don't feel like anything is doing anything, and I don't want any more contractions. And she was like, a lot of times when you're pushing and doesn't feel like anything's going anywhere, you might have a cervical lip. And I was thinking that's exactly what happened with Iris. So yeah, it's quite possible. This feels like the same thing. I feel like I'm pushing and going nowhere. And so she asked if she could check me. And so I said fine, because I kind of did want to know if I was working with a lip, even though I really didn't want any more cervical checks at this point. So she checked me, and of course, it's exactly what I have. I have a little bit of a lip, and she's like, next contraction, I can push it out of the way for you. And I'm like, let's do it, because we did the same thing with my first daughter. So I know it's super painful, but it's worth it, you know, if it gets me all the way dilated. And so that's what we did. And I pushed through it, and it hurt. And I was like, I mean, I was so done. I was so done with all this stuff at this point. I did not want to go through any of it anymore. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 rag, cold rag, oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh,
So Alyssa, we can either let you try to break it. I can try to break it for you. You could try getting up on the toilet and seeing if gravity will break it. It's totally whatever you think will work for you.
You can break it. Oh, 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 And so the next thing she tells me is like, the other thing is you have a bulging water bag, like it's not broken yet. I was just exhausted, and I'm like, you do it. You just break that bag for me. And the midwife was like, okay. So I had her break my water bag, and again, that just put me into another contraction. But at this point, I finally feel like we're going somewhere. I am fully dilated, my waters are broken, and this baby's head is coming. So I finally feel like, as I'm feeling pushy, that this like head is actually like coming down the birth canal. I can feel it. I'm really excited about it. Finally, as I'm pushing, I have some control over everything. I just feel like I'm more in control. I felt like I was way more on top of these contractions. So every time, you know, I felt like the need to push, I kind of like let my body do it and just kind of did what I needed to do instead of dreading everything. And so this was the best part of my labor. Pushing just felt like such relief because I finally had control over what was going on, and I knew my baby was coming. I knew this was the end of all of this craziness. So
tuck your chin in, that will be good. There you go, you got it.
Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
coming down.
Perfect. Good job. Intentional pushes.
Right then, right
Rest.
I can't.
Direct it down. Tuck your chin in. Good.
Keep your pelvis nice and open for baby. There you go.
Good job. Good job. Direct it down. Good. Good job.
Thanks.
Breathe out.
I really worked hard to push this baby out and do it slowly too. With my first baby, I did it so quickly. I had a second-degree tear, and this time around I was like, I'm gonna do this. Like, I'm gonna let this baby, you know, come on her own instead of like forcing this just because I want it to be over. And so even though I started feeling the ring of fire and it was really burny and it really sucked, I slowly let my body push her out.
Soon.
Oh.
Good.
Great.
This is where I was last night. Oh my gosh. Here comes Nova.
Okay. Good job.
Great.
Excellent.
That's her. Amazing.
And because she kind of came so slowly, you know, the midwife is like really helping me. I felt like I actually needed to like reach down and like help myself too. And I did, and that actually alleviated a lot of the pain just by me putting some pressure where her like head was coming out.
Lots of room. Give her lots of room.
Direct it down. Good.
Be nice and easy for her.
Okay. Oh.
She's right there, babe.
Oh.
Good job.
Oh. 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 Oh.
Let her be nice and open there. There you go.
And so the midwife was kind of like checking to see if any cord is around her neck or anything, and we were in the clear, but I stopped having like all contractions. I didn't feel the need to push anymore once her head was out. It was really weird. I was just waiting for another contraction to push the rest of her body out, but it wasn't coming. And she's like, you need to push. And I'm like, I can't, like, I don't feel like I need to. So my doula, my midwife, and the nurse all try to like open up my pelvis. They're all pushing on my legs to like open me up as far as possible. And just the position I was in the tub, I was not like getting like far enough open. And so basically I had a little bit of what the nurse called tub dystocia, where she was basically just kind of stuck because I could not like get my pelvis to open up. So the midwife called her right away and was like, you need to get out and get on hands and knees on the floor. And and you could see me, I'm like, what? Like, what do I need to do? Like, what's going on? And it was so weird to think, I birthed my baby's head and now I have to get out of the tub to get onto the floor. But if I changed positions in the water, it would be bad for the baby, because as soon as a baby's head comes out of the water, she can't go back into the water. So they needed to get me out of the water completely in order to birth her. So I jump out of the tub. My husband is definitely like, you know, this doesn't seem good. So he stopped recording video at this point, just basically out of fear. Like he didn't understand what was going on. I didn't really understand either, even though like I know exactly why they did that. At the time I was just confused. I didn't realize that I needed to birth this baby now, you know. So as soon as I got on hands and knees, I'd like barely even push and this baby just like came out. I had my baby, and it was just the craziest thing to think. I'm like, this just happened so fast, because just a few minutes ago I didn't feel like I had any control over these crazy contractions, and now there's a baby in my arms. So it was really, really cool. I look down and look at her, and she is just white. She is just so covered in vernix. I was like, this baby has so much vernix on her. And I'm pretty sure it was like the first thing I said. It was just like, look at all this vernix.
Just kind of take a breath and then bring her up to your front. From the front. There you go. Perfect. Perfect. Good job. Great.
Good job.
Yeah.
We did it. Good job.
Oh my god. Oh baby. Look at all that burning.
Oh, I know. Right?
Holy cow.
Can we cut the fan off? All right, great. How are you feeling?
So relieved.
Great.
Guys, look at that vernix. Look at that. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, she looks great.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, praise the Lord, it's over. There was so much emotion, you know, like, I can't believe how hard that was. I can't believe how fast that was. Oh my gosh, there's a baby in my arms. And so I just kind of was like, you know, all sorts of emotion at once. And it was just a really surreal moment. And of course, once you have your baby, you're on this kind of birth high, and there's like no want for sleep at all. You just want to look at your baby. And so for the rest of the day, I was just kind of like blah, 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 like in baby land, which was really cool. And I just felt like I had such a wonderful experience this time around. Even though there was a lot of like interesting things that happened. We had no issues really, except for the tiny bit of tub dystocia, but even that was kind of a cool experience. And it just makes our story, you know, unique in some ways. Even though I kind of wanted another water birth, I kind of wanted to have this baby born in the water, but she wasn't fully born in the water. I also had the mindset of like, wherever she's born is like where she's born. Like, it doesn't really matter. I already had a water birth, so I didn't feel like this pressure to have another one. But my first water birth was a great experience, so I kind of wanted to do that again. But regardless, this is how she was born, and it was really cool, and so I'm really thankful for it.
Honey, I didn't think you were coming. No. Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a little bit of cervix to get past, and then first the water, then the cervix.
Yeah,
And then she only wanted to come out to her head and
Did you have to break the water again? Did you get the water?
Okay. You did. So my doula was only there for about an hour, a little less than an hour before the baby was born. She was born at 7:03 in the morning, and my friends, the photographer and my other friend, they showed up like 15 minutes before the baby was born. So I do have a few photos that my friend was able to take. So all in all, it was a wonderful experience. I can't complain about anything. I'm really just happy thinking back to our birth with Nova. Yeah, I'm just very thankful for the whole team, for my doula, for my midwife, for the nurse. I had the same nurse I had with Iris, so that was really funny. She didn't really recognize me right away, but when I got in the tub and she noticed my bra, she was like, oh, and recalled the whole birth of Iris because of my bra. And it was really funny. Apparently that was the only one she's seen. Here is little Nova Genevieve. Obviously you guys have seen the back of her head a lot because I've been kind of burping her. Hi, babes. Are you gonna open your eyes? Yeah. She was born with a little bit of hair, and that was kind of curly too. And she has blue eyes, and she was 8 pounds, 5 ounces, and 22 inches long. So a little bigger than her sister. And Iris has been really funny with her. She likes to be like, oh, baby, and she likes to bounce her, which we are a little bit nervous about. She's just already fitting into her role of big sister, and it's been really cool. So that's it, guys. That's our birth story. Thanks for sticking around and waiting on the story. I'm really glad to share it with you all. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see more of us, and just follow along with our little story, transitioning to 2 under 2 and all the craziness. And I hope to see you guys soon. Bye.